What is up? What are we doing again? That's right, After Effects tutorial. New one today. We're going to be doing some swirls. Let's check out what I got for you today. Oh, I didn't think it was this one. This one's got too many swirls in it. Yeah, well, actually, for as complex as this little swirly animation looks, it is actually very, very easy. And it's easy because we're going to be using Adobe Illustrator today. So make sure you've got that. And this whole process is going to be super duper awesome. It's because in Illustrator, when you draw a swirly thing, you can take the path from that and it translates over into After Effects. And I'm going to show you how to do that today. So instead of starting out in After Effects, we are going to go into dun 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 Adobe Illustrator, arch nemesis of the world, friend to us. I don't know if that's true or not, but we're going to make a comp. Let's make it 1920 by 1080 because I live in high definition. So make sure it's pixels. They got all these other wild units, but I don't care about those. And we'll just say, okay. Now, from here, we're going to grab our pen tool. We're going to make 2 points. Boom. And boom. And then we're going to just kind of stretch it out like that and give it a little curvature. Like so. Then we're going to find our swirly tool, spiral tool. I like to call it swirly tool. And we're going to create a swirl. So if we just kind of drag this out, and we're going to angle it, so it's kind of going to go. And notice how I'm not connecting it. We're going to leave this space open between here. And then we're going to grab our direct selection tool. Notice how there's 2 different mouses. They do 2 different things. Make sure you grab this one, the direct selection tool. Trust me. And we're going to click on this, our anchor point, and then we're going to hold down Shift and select the anchor point at the end here. Now, with both of those selected, we're going to go up to Object, Path, Join. Okay. You can also do Command J. That's what these things mean over here. That clover symbol is the command sign. So if you're on a Mac, you now know a command. And look at that, that joins them. So now we've got a path. And we can move this around as we so choose to. I'm going to adjust it a little bit. So I'm going to grab that anchor point and just kind of move it on in there. That looks kind of like a weird shape. So adjust this as needed. Make it more, swoopy and nice. And from there, we're going to highlight our entire selection. Make sure it's highlighted. We're going to go up to here. We're going to make sure that we do not have a fill for our swirly path, because then it's going to do bad things. We only want a stroke. So stroke is okay. Fill is not. And with that double check in place, we're going to go back to our swirly tool and we're going to create some more swirls coming off of our whole thing here. Important thing is we need to make them new layers. So we're going to make a new layer over here. And I'm just going to kind of drag them out. And I can move this over using my arrow keys and just kind of position it right on that stem there. You can do another one, over here maybe, except I want it to go the other way around. Sometimes these can be kind of finicky depending on how you drag out your swirl. but just play with it, and I'm sure it'll, you know, work eventually. And like I said, you want to make sure that these are getting made on new layers. So let's just make a couple layers here. So we've got 2 different layers. I'm going to select layer 3, make a swirl going out that way, and then I'm going to make another one on layer 4. And, you know, depending on how insane you want to get with these, you can really, you know, make as many of these as you want. Just kind of remember this is your base here, and pay attention to which way the swirls are going. You know, you want to keep them kind of consistent with the look and feel. So like this one probably shouldn't be facing that way. We want the swirl to go the other way. So we're just going to adjust it once I've got it placed on there. There we go. So we can just do a reflect on that. I can just kind of move this around and you know, position it however I want. Really, grab the rotate tool and just kind of rotate this onto the stem. And yeah, so now we've got our swirls all mapped out. They're looking pretty super duper. Where do we go from here? Well, we are going to do a save. So if we go to File, Save As, and I'm going to call this Swirls. And I've already actually set up a folder with everything in it. So I would create a folder called, you know, whatever you're going to call your project, and save that into your project folder. And I'm going to call this Swirls 2 because I've already got a Swirls Illustrator file. So this is going to be a second one for me because I'm just going ham, just like those rapper guys. Except I don't eat pork all the time. Well, sometimes I do. Yeah. All right, and we'll just say okay, and that saves it as Swirls 2 AI. Yay. Okay, and now that we have all of these created, we're going to select everything, so we can just draw a box around it like that, and that'll select it all. Excuse me. And also, we need to move one of our swirls into layer 4. It looks like one of them didn't transfer, so I can just take this and drag it right into layer 4. See how easy that was? And if I turn off the eye, we can see which one it is. So, pretty handy. And we're going to reselect everything. And over here we've got different brushes. If you don't have that pulled up, you might be in the swatches pane. Just choose brushes, and that'll give you that. And right now we're at basic. We can also do this kind of cool paintbrush type stroke and this cool crazy like arrow thing. And they've got a few others, and you can create your own. I'm not showing you how to do that today though. We're just going to choose the charcoal brush, and we can change the line weight. So let's put it up to like 2 and get a little thickness in there. And you can play with these as well. We're not going to because there's no real point to it. Yeah, it's nice. And if we click out of there, we can kind of see how our paint strokes will look. And this is actually where we're going to save again. And we'll import this into After Effects. So this is getting there almost, guys. So let's go ahead and head over into After Effects, where we will import this and start getting it to be animated. So I'm going to select After Effects over here and pop into there. And we've got our awesome finished product. This is what we're going to get soon. Oh, almost there. So we'll go up to Composition, New Composition, and we're going to name this one Swirly. Not surly. All right, and 1920 by 1080, 24 frames per second, 10 seconds long, and okay. So we've got swirly there. Let's go ahead and import our InDesign project. Not InDesign, Illustrator project. File, import, and it already directed me right into Swirls. Find your folder where it's at and import it. And it's going to ask us this question here. It's probably going to have you prompted for footage. We're going to switch that to composition. And we want it to be the document size. And we'll say OK. Then we're going to take this swirls comp and throw it down into here. And that'll give us that. And if we scrub through, it does not animate. But if we drop down our comp bar, or actually if we go into our comp, notice how we've got all that. How sweet. I'm pumped, aren't you? So let's go ahead and start figuring out how we are going to do this. Okay, so let's go ahead and change our background color to white so that we can see our swirl. Remember, they're black, and that's why it's kind of showing up not so awesome there. So we'll just change this to white and say okay, okay. And we've got it. So let's go ahead and find our main stem. That's this one here. And we're just going to rename this stem. And let's go through and rename all of these just so that we know what they are. And we'll reposition them. So that one I'm going to move just above here. And I'm going to call it branch 2. Because that's going to be the second branch that gets animated. This one, I believe, is the last branch. So that'll be branch 3. And we're going to put that up at the top. And then layer 4, I assume, is going to be branch number 1. And that's going to be the first branch to get animated. So we're going to call it branch 1. I'm sure you guys probably figured that out. So thanks for being ahead of the game. And with our stem selected, that's, our base one, we're going to select that and press Command E. And that's going to bring us back into Adobe Illustrator. And that's going to allow us to do some cool things to copy the paths so that we don't even have to animate this thing. So let's go ahead and do that. So if we go up to View, Outline, we can see the outline, and this is actually the path that we want, but we can't copy and paste this exactly. We've got to do a couple things first. So let's do that. We'll press Command A on our keyboard, and that's going to select everything. That's Command All. And from here, we're going to go up to where our stroke is, and we're going to set it to 0. So it's actually this one here, and if we go to there, that's going to set it to, nothing. So it'll just be a blank path. We do not want to save this document. Not a big deal if you do, but I do not recommend saving it because it'll just be less of a headache in the future. And so with everything selected, we're going to press Command C, okay? And now you're done with Illustrator for the rest of your life. Well, probably not. But go back into After Effects, and we're going to press Command V on our stem layer. And you don't see it, but that set up 4 mask layers. So if we drop down our transform controls and then drop down mask, you see we have 4 masks here. Now, only one of these masks is going to be good for the stem. We're going to have to move the other ones. So not a big deal, but you need to be aware of that. So if we select our stem layer, that's going to open up our stem layer, and we can zoom in. And we need to move this mask layer to be on top of our stem. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll just reposition it right on top. And actually, if I do Command Z, I can reposition them all at once. So let's select all of these masks and position them on top of this stem here. And if I just grab a point, we'll just start moving it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, absolutely perfect, but you want it to be going along, the same curvatures and try to get it inside there. You can use your arrow keys a little bit to alter it some, but definitely have it pretty close. It does not need to be perfect by any means though, but get it close. And then we're just going to go through and we're going to start figuring out which mask goes to which stem. So I can actually just do delete, Command Z. All right, so this mask 2 here is going to be for branch 2. So let's go ahead and rename this mask. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this, and we're going to press, we're going to take this and we're going to press Command C on our keyboard, or Control C if you're on the PC, and we'll go to branch 2 and we'll press Command V. And that's going to paste that mask onto branch 2. And so now we can delete this from our stem. So now it's not on our stem anymore because that's not going to do anything for it. So let's select mask 3. We'll delete that quick. Command Z to bring it back. All right, so that one's going to be for branch 3. So let's rename this mask real quick. Branch 3. Hit enter. And then we'll copy and paste that branch to branch 3. So let's hit Command C, select branch 3, Command V, and that'll paste it. And once again, anytime I say command, those are for Mac. Generally, it translates to control whatever the letter is for PC users. So, copy and paste, Command V equals Control C, or Control V, stuff like that. I'm sure you guys already knew it, just clarifying for anyone who might not have. And this one's going to be our branch 1. So we got that, and we'll copy it and paste it to branch 1, and then just remove it from the stem. And let's just name that stem for good measure so that we don't get anything confused or mixed up. And we need to go back into our comp, so we'll select comp, and now we've got our mask on each one of these. Let's just verify that. So we got our mask there, our mask there, and our mask there. You are practically done. Really, all we have left is to make the paths on these be animated, and then create a background and set this up however you want. So just bear with me. You guys are doing great. We are almost done. Now what we're going to do is go to our stem layer, we'll go to our effects and presets, and we're going to choose stroke. We're going to generate a stroke effect. So if we go to where it says generate stroke, we're just going to double click on that if we have our stem layer selected. And it's going to give us a stroke. We're going to make sure that the stroke color is white, and we want the brush size to be big enough to cover our stem. So as we increase it, it starts to fade away. Keep going, keep going. Almost there. And you don't want to overdo it. You want to be spot on. So 10 is still showing just a little bit of the swirl coming through, and it looks like 11 is right where you want to be. Oh, and you can actually probably even go up to 12. And the reason why you don't want to go, to 500 or 5,000 or a huge number is because you want it to reveal the stroke nicely. If you have it too large, it's not going to do the proper job. You want it to be pretty much exactly the size of the stroke. So, and we also want to go to brush hardness and turn that up all the way to 100. And all these other settings are good. Now, notice start and end. These are going to be what reveal your stroke. So if I start toggling that, it's going to reveal that way. Okay. If I start toggling this, it'll reveal the other way. Pretty cool. So depending on how you want to have your animation reveal, you can play with these. So really cool stuff. So we'll go ahead and keyframe our start and end points. And from there, we're going to crank up our start to 100%. And we're going to go to paint style. And notice how it says on original image. We're going to change that to reveal original image. And then our image will go away. Make sure start is at 100%. And we'll move forward to about 4 seconds. And we'll bring start down to 0%. And so if we go back to the beginning of our comp and play this back through, we can see that our swirl starts to reveal itself from here and goes around. Now, the reason why we want to choose to reveal the original image, if we have it on original image, then we're just going to have a stroke that goes over it. So let me change the background color real quick. Let's change this to red. Okay, and so now we've got this view. And if I change this back to on original image, you notice that it's just a stroke that animates it instead of revealing it. So we want that to be reveal original image, and that'll reveal the image rather than paint a stroke onto it. So what we'll do from here is we're going to line up the points where this stroke hits on our other branches. So we'll go right to here, and we're going to take this stroke effect. We're going to press Command C on the keyboard. Then we're going to select branch 1, and we're going to press Command V. And that's going to bring us our stroke settings. And if we press U on the keyboard, that'll show us the keyframes. Now we're going to turn off these keyframes because we don't want the same keyframing. We're going to redo it. So we're actually going to set the start to 0 and the end to 0 as well. And we're going to be animating the endpoint. So let's go ahead and turn on the end. And we'll just move forward in time to 4 seconds because I want it to be revealed by the time that's finished. And we'll just move this forward all the way up to 100%. And so now we can go back and see how that animates. And boom, it hits it and starts to, make more. So now we just need to go to the other points where it starts, so like right here, and we can use our forward and backward frames to get it perfect, and we'll just re-paste this stroke effect. So we're going to select this stroke effect on branch 1, press Command C, and then we'll select branch 2 and press Command V. Now the really cool thing is it's going to take these keyframes and put them onto branch 2 at the point where your time indicator is. So as we move forward, it's already starting to animate that branch right here, see? And so now we're just going to look for it to connect on our last branch. So I'm going to key forward a little bit, and boom, it's right there. And we already have our stroke copied, so we'll just press paste again, so Command V, and that'll paste the keyframes and all. Let's go ahead and stretch out our workspace area, and we'll just kind of scrub forward, and we've got a nice little animation. Let's go ahead and play this back. So you guys have learned how to use Adobe Illustrator to your advantage to create some very dynamic swirls. Now remember, this isn't only limited to swirls. You guys can do this with virtually any shape you can create in Adobe Illustrator. So just keep that in mind for future effects that you might want to do, but you don't want to keyframe the hell out of them. You can use Illustrator to pretty much do the animation for you. Think of cool creative ways that you can reapply these techniques to different effects. Just always be mindful of that. So where do we go from here? We've got our swirls getting created, and they're doing a pretty good job of just kind of growing. What do I do to make a cool dynamic animation? Well, let's go up to Composition, New Composition, and we'll just call this Super Swirls. And we'll say, make it, green maybe, and we'll go OK, and say OK. That's a really bright green, wow. We'll go over to our project window. We're going to grab our Swirls 2, or Swirls 2, and we're just going to drop it into our comp. And if we move the time indicator forward, we can see our swirls starting to be created. So what I did on mine was I set them up in a 3D space, and I started to position them as I wanted to. I don't know if you guys saw the Inksplot intro tutorial, but that would be a good one to reference as far as positioning these, because you can get some really cool creative ideas on how to move them around in the 3D space. And so I just did, some cool stuff like that. And what's that, you say? We only have one swirl? Well, check this out. Select the layer, press Command D, and now you've got another swirl that you can move in a 3D space anywhere you want. I recommend setting up a few on the same Z plane, so you want like the Z coordinates to be the same, and then you can like move them around, and then create another couple and set them on another axis or plane. And I'm going to rotate that again. And other cool things that you can do after you get done positioning these would be adding a camera. Cameras always are a fun way to create a more dynamic animation to really push your projects, because they can move in a 3D space and kind of go between these swirls or do different cool stuff like that. So now I'm going to select both of these, press Command D, and I'm going to make sure to move this one up into here, and I'm going to select both of them, press our rotate tool, and make sure I'm on the Z axis of one of them and just rotate them to the opposite corners. And then also push them back in Z space. So I'm going to grab the Z and get them both to go down. So I'm going to push them down so that they appear to be further away, because technically they are. And now I can, grab onto them and reposition them however I like. So I'll put this one right up here, and I'll grab this one and put it down here. And so now what I can do is play this back and check out how our animation looks with multiple swirls going on. And this can be cool for like a title intro where, you've got people's names coming up or something like that. Lots of different uses. You can probably get a brand new job doing it. I don't know. You guys are more creative than I am. Yeah, so we got this cool little swirls. We can add some other things to it like glow. So if I go up to Layer, New, Adjustment Layer, and if I go over and search for glow in my effects and presets, you can throw on a glow, and that's going to apply glow to all of those. We can bring the threshold all the way down to like 0, and glow radius up a little bit, and maybe even the glow intensity up a little bit. And we can also change the colors to be AB colors, and maybe do a green shine on them. Since we've got a green background, that's probably a good idea, right? And let's also change up the background a little bit. Our background's kind of boring, if you ask me. So let's go up to Layer, New, Solid, and we'll just call this Background PKG, and drop it down to there. Ooh, neon-y. Right, and so you got the background layer, and you've got some neon-y vines growing, swirls going. And I'm just going to RAM preview this back. And cool. So you guys can add some more swirls to it, move them into different 3D space, add a camera, and have the camera moving through the swirls. You can do a lot of cool stuff with this effect. And like I said, it's not just limited to these swirls. Illustrator will do this with any shapes you can create. So you can get real dynamic, wild, and crazy in there. Please post in the comments, show us what you guys are creating. We love to see new and innovative ways that our users are coming up with how to create effects and learning from our videos. Also, click subscribe over to the right. You'll get to stay up to date on all these awesome tutorials that we put out for you so that you can keep learning super cool techniques like this swirl technique you learned today, and you're multi-platforming now, guys. So way to step it up a notch, bringing in some innovation. Also, be sure to check out VideoFort.com. We've got some great stock footage over there that you can use in lots of projects and create some really, really cool things. Otherwise, guys, have a great day. Or not. The choice is yours. Later, guys.
Bringing you the finest footage around. VideoFort.com.